Hi all, this is Nelly, Ordinary People Saintly Souls, and we just saw the Last Supper and the foot washing, and we saw that Jesus inserted into the Last Supper a new ceremony, and he has on Valtorta page 263 and 264 of the fifth volume, he has additional information about what we now would call communion or the sacrament of bread and wine. He says, in addition to the consideration on the love of a God who becomes food for man, there are four main teachings that stand out from the episode of the supper. The first one is the necessity for all children to obey God's law. The law prescribes that a lamb was to be consumed at Passover according to the ritual given to Moses by the Most High. And I, the true Son of the true God, did not consider myself exempted because of my divine quality. I did not consider myself exempted from the law. I was on earth, man among man and master of man. And I had therefore to do my duty towards God as and better than anybody else. Divine favors do not dispense from being obedient and from making an effort towards a greater and greater holiness. If you compare the most sublime holiness with divine perfection, you will always find it full of defects, and consequently, it's obliged to strive to eliminate them and achieve a degree of perfection as similar to as possible to God's. The second one was the power of the prayer of Saint Mary. I was divine and had become flesh, a flesh that, being without stain, had the spiritual strength of dominating the flesh. And I do not refuse, on the contrary, I implore the help of the full of grace, who in that hour of expiation would have also found heaven closed over her hand. So here he talks about Saint Mary, that he asked for the help of his mother, who is called Mary, full of grace. And then he describes his mother and how she helped, that her prayers helped him overcome the anguish, first in Gethsemane and then later on during the crucifixion. The third part of the sacrament of Holy Communion, or the bread and the wine, is self-control and endurance of offenses. The most charitable attitude towards all offenses that can be possessed only by those who make the law of charity the life of their lives, as I had told them. So you have to be charitable most of all. I had not only preached it, but I also had to practice it. And you cannot imagine what it meant for me to have a traitor at the table, to give myself to him, and to humiliate myself before him, to have to share with him the ritual chalice. And put my lips where he had put his, and make my mother do the same. Your doctors have discussed and still discuss the rapidity of my end, so how quick I died. And they say it originated in a heart lesion brought about by the blows of the whipping, of the scourging. Yes, my heart was injured also by those blows, but it had already been damaged at the supper. I was heartbroken by the effort of having to endure the traitor at my side. It was at the supper that I began to die physically. The fourth is, the more one is worthy of receiving a sacrament, the greater its effect. That is, if you have become worthy of it by persevering in goodwill that subdues the flesh, the human body, the human instincts, and makes the spirit sovereign, mastering and here's a word I can't pronounce, mastering all, let's say, human tendencies, directing one's being towards virtues and bending it like a bow towards the perfection and towards love. Because when you love, you are inclined to make the person you love happy. For example, John loved me as nobody else did, and he was pure, and he received total transformation from the sacrament. So then there's more text, but I'm going to end it here. So this is what you give yourself according to whether you believe and love, or you do not believe and you deride my gift. And it is the lesson of this contemplation. So if you are full of love, if you live towards love, move towards love, the sacrament will mean much to you. But if you do not, it might even harm you. It might be a curse on you. That's in short. I'm saying that it's quite a large part here to read. So now I'm going to the next video where we will see the beginning of the Passion as they make their way to Gethsemane. This was Nelly for Ordinary People, Saintly Souls. Thank you for listening and see you in the next video.